Yay!
Yo.
Welcome back to Pod Duck Dong. This is episode 4.
4. We're already on 4.
I think it's a real thing now. That
this is a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we already have 3 in the can.
Yeah.
And this is the 4th one that's coming up. I feel like you really hit your Pod Duck Dong stride.
Yeah. If you're still with us, or if you're sharing and we're growing as a community. I'm Nathan.
I'm Doug.
And we just kind of talk about the Asian American experience in our personal lives and professionally throughout the entertainment industry and pop culture, etc. Because we love talking about it and we love being a source for the community to kind of
tap into. Yeah, I feel like in the past couple of weeks, we've seen we've heard some feedback, and I feel like I've gotten some positive feedback. We're doing some good.
I know. I was kind of like, people are enjoying it. So
like warm, fuzzy feeling in my heart.
I completely agree. So I guess we should just jump right in, to the headlines. Yeah.
In the past week or so, we've seen a couple of network TV shows have Asian American characters, not only just as characters, but have these kind of full arcs as regular human beings, regular Americans. I guess,
which is super exciting.
I mean, you watched The Good Place, right?
I watched The Good Place. It is my favorite comedy on network TV. I was almost gonna say my favorite comedy out of everything, but I do love American Vandal as well. But The Good Place, I mean, it's already was such a a wonderful kind of representation of Asian American or Asian talent with Tahani Al-Jamil and Manny Jacinto's character on the show. But they had this week a plot just centered around Manny's character.
Right.
Why is my brain even blanking on his name on this show? It's like I swear.
I think it's Jason Mendoza.
Oh, right? Yeah, Jason Mendoza. Yes, I'm like, it is my favorite show. But I am literally having a stroke. And he goes and he's trying to his goal is to save his father. Who we realize, because he's been talking, the first spoiler alert for this next maybe 10 minutes, but he's been talking to his father, he's been talking about this guy named Donkey Doug, and we kind of realize that Donkey Doug is actually his father the whole time. And so he also has his best friend played by Eugene Cordero, Pillboy. And so
Eugene was actually my 401 UCB teacher. So
he is, I swear, I have seen him now perform a multitude of times, and
at Filipino AF.
Yes, Filipino AF, Asian AF, and legitimately one of the most funny people. I will literally just look at him and just I'm just ready. My body is ready to laugh and relax and just have fun, because I think he's just amazing. And of course they were the 3 were hilarious. I think that and then who played Manny's dad? Yeah, it was Mitch Narito. Yeah, and he was hilarious. They just lived in the same ecosystem, I think, which is the most exciting part of when you're watching comedy is there are some certain people that have their own brand of comedy, and sometimes when you put them in a pool with other comedians, sometimes it doesn't jive. But they all,
I think it is coming from that improv. Eugene comes from that improv background, so it's easy to kind of yes and kind of build on that. I'm not sure about Mitch so much. This is the first time I've seen him. But
I mean, it was hilarious. There's this scene with Eugene in a nursing home that you will just, it's so fun. It's not even it's just he has one line or something, but it's just the way that he understands delivery and understands timing is brilliant, and it's amazing to see, especially Southeast Asian actors.
Representation. 3 Southeast Asian representation in the same room, just not referring to their race. It's just we're actually human people, and throw in Tahani, that's a Asian quadfecta.
And I mean it is this wonderful, because it's they play that highbrow lowbrow. It's they kind of poke fun at both sides of the Asian experience, so I mean I love it. Watch The Good Place. If you're not watching it, I don't know like you're dead. You're actually dead to me. Like, don't talk to me. Don't talk to me until you watch The Good Place. Please don't talk to me until you watch The Good Place.
But there was the other network comedy, or it's not a comedy, it's a drama.
Yeah, I was like,
so it's a comedy. Yeah. This is us. It's a comedy.
I mean, Mandy Moore's age makeup is a true comedy. Like that. Like, come on. You're not gonna go to one acting class, Mandy. Like, I get that. I mean, I'm getting real twisted because I had my iced coffee today. But like, just like maybe like discover something with your voice or something with the way you move your face when you got your age makeup on. It's
funny because like before you mentioned that, like I kind of didn't have a problem with it, but now that I can't unsee it now. It's like it looks like a young person just playing old.
She is Mandy Moore in Princess Diaries in age makeup on This Is Us. It's really wild.
But yeah, so
anyways, that's a detour.
Anyway, in today's or this past week's episode, it's actually a Korean word. It's called 감사합니다, which means thank you. But Tim Jo and Amy Park, they play Korean brother and sister in this episode, and he plays like this kind of like Koreatown resident who's kind of like at first kind of like I guess combative towards Sterling K. Brown's character, but then like kind of comes around, becomes his like campaign manager for I guess his campaign. But it is this cool thing where like, they do talk about his Koreanness and whatever, but it is kind of like, oh, I'm an American. Like, I have these kind of like American ideals too. It's just like kind of in my way. And it wasn't kind of like I just feel like anytime an Asian person was on TV or whatever, they were just kind of like a side thing. But it does feel like he's going to get his own arc and his own kind of like story background. Yeah,
it also just felt like he was just really truly baked into the story. It just felt like it was a real thing. It was like, because I mean, I love the kind of Sterling K. Brown, like the arc of this. It's like not fitting anywhere because it's like, you're adopted into a white family. So it's like, how do you connect? And like not wanting your white brother to like come with you to these like campaign stops and everything that. And like it's like, but then also not being able to connect with the Black community, but also, and then trying to like use his brother in a way to connect with the Asian community, because of his celebrity status. This is all spoiler alerts. I know. I told y'all already, but
this pod is going to come out probably a couple weeks after the episode, but
it was, I mean, like what This Is Us does really well is they give you those moments of really just kind of like, they'll just kind of like cut you open a little bit. And like the scene, the Tim Jo's, I mean, A, he's hot. B, he can act. C, like, call me. Like, D, you're D. No, I'm gonna go to jail now.
It's funny because I know Tim. I met him. I met him a few years ago, like a while back, but we really connected this year. And he's just very down to earth. He's like very kind of like, I'm down to work on any project or for the art. I mean, he was in a play, I think, or he's currently in a play. Just doing the work, doing the craft. So he is kind of like, to me, this like artist's artist. And to see him kind of like succeed, because he was on The Neighbors, he was on Dan Fogelman's other show, and that's and it was kind of like, oh man, this person has so much talent. It's good to see someone like that working.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of work to feel like an actor is at ease. And like, there's always this kind of moment. I don't know if you feel this, but like, whenever I watch Asians in anything, it's just like, oh God, please let them have ease. Not even please don't fuck it up, but it's just like there's so much pressure in those moments. That because it's just like it took so much even to just get on that show, to go through all the auditions and to like literally to like then like go through your table read and then to like get on a show and like. Just to like let him just like have ease, and like it's just like letting yourself have ease when you're finally there, and like just doing the work. It's so hard, but it's just so wonderful, and I'm super excited to see where the character goes. Yeah. Hopefully, they go to the beach. Yeah, babe. Hey. No, I think he's straight. I'm just harassing. I'm just a thirsty mess. But it is what it is.
So I guess along those lines of more Asians in representation, now we just had Halloween. That was a whole thing.
Spooky Halloween. Oh yeah, my Halloween was crazy, but
I went to the parade for the first time in West Hollywood.
It's not fun.
Yeah, it was just kind of like, I mean, it's good to go once just to see what it's all about, because I lived in LA for 6 years. I never went there. But yeah, it was a lot. I was like, man,
I mean, I did have some friends that got to turn, and I'm sure they're gonna listen to this podcast. But I mean, what the great thing was is there are what was really fun this year was there are so many. Like, we finally get Asian costumes, Asian American costumes
that aren't like cultural appropriation or something like that.
Because I mean, I had a friend that was Amadeus Cho from Marvel. Who's the Hulk, he's no longer the Hulk right now. Now he goes by the code name of Brute. Okay. So if you're reading the Champions, which is like the super diverse young Marvel Comics series, like it's so good. Like they like. It's great. You should definitely be reading it. But I mean, like, so Amadeus Cho is now called Brute. He's kind of like the She-Hulk cipher now, because She-Hulk has kind of now moved into like the she can't control when she hulks out kind of thing. So, and the Hulk is now possessed by a demon and is immortal. So that's where comics is at. But going
nerd out.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, so many costumes.
Right. And of course, the Crazy Rich. I feel like we talk about Crazy Rich Asians every pod, but and it's probably going to happen for a while. But
exactly.
You know, it was the first time you're seeing like Peik Lin or I don't know what other costumes.
I mean, I saw Peik Lin. I saw the Rachel Chu at the wedding.
Gemma Chan.
Gemma Chan was a lot. I saw some hot John Cho dad searching costumes. Honestly, if you are a John Cho searching costume, like that isn't sorry America, that is a new fetish.
Asian
dad. Like, it was already actually there was this Twitter meme that was going around. I think that this one guy made of, it's just like, oh, like you're always looking for a dad, but it's just like, no, you're looking for you're actually looking for a John Cho dad. Like, it's just like, and I'm just like, that's the truth.
Get you a dad who will go to the ends of the earth to find your daughter.
Exactly. I mean, like, yeah. I mean, I'm here for that costume. I am here for more Asian costumes as more Asian characters happen.
Yeah, and I feel like this year there has been less. I mean, I'm sure it happened, but like there has been less cultural appropriation in general of like, you know, geisha costumes or whatever, and you know, all sorts of racist things. You know,
well, there was the whole Megyn Kelly thing that happened.
Oh, yeah.
Which, I mean, like, we don't even need to like waste any breath on her. But I mean, yeah, it's just like, I don't know. I mean, here's my thing. It's like, if somehow she made it through this, like, you know, 40 some years of her life without ever hearing why cultural appropriation or blackface is wrong, then like it still is our duty as as like, not even our duty, but it's just like it's exhausting to educate, but it's just like, if no one is educating, then who's going to? But it's like, girl, you didn't hear it until you never heard it. Like, you never heard why that's not a good, like, you work in the news. Like,
and it's just kind of like, oh man, like, I feel like people are like, oh, it's too much to punish her for this. I'm like, she has a $69 million golden parachute. I'm not wasting any tears about this.
And like, I mean, she has a history of just like blatant racism, selective misogyny, you know, like, I mean
it's just like peak white feminism.
Yeah, it's not even feminism. Like, it's just, I mean, yeah, so, you know, like, have fun with $70 million in your pocket, plus whatever you made this year. Like, you probably make 9 figures, so live your life with all our endorsements and everything. But I don't know. That's all I have to say about that.
Cool.
Yeah.
So our next headline has to do with Far East movement.
Ooh. Yes.
So in the news, they just recently signed a deal with China's NetEase, which is kind of like their equivalent of Spotify. But they do already have a 400 million person user base, you know, so it's huge.
Wild.
Yeah. So even like I guess American artists like Alan Walker recently like kind of got on because it's like a great way to promote your music, and you know, Asians love their ADM. So
Yeah, because you were telling me about like the systems. Like, explain what the system is that they've signed them on to do.
Yeah. So so basically, how I understand it is they're not commissioning them to just do an album. I think what they're doing is NetEase is hiring kind of like Far East Movement to kind of boost Chinese talent. So what that is basically every month, Far East Movement is going to do a different song with a different Chinese artist for I guess a year, and do kind of like a song with them, and with that cross promotion, kind of promote Chinese artists within China musically.
Amazing. I mean, like, that's amazing. Then they just released their first kind of collab, which is called Bamboo, and it's featuring Jason Jong and
Kina Grannis
and Kina Grannis from Crazy Rich Asians.
Right.
And if you have not downloaded this, here's the thing. This is my thing about Far East Movement. Like, there is a half Chinese, half Japanese American. There is a Korean American, and there is a Filipino American. And like, they came up and they had their number one single, like a G6. They did Rocketeer, and then they moved. They kind of were in this space where it was just like, you know, like, what are Asian Americans in the industry? You know, like they were like these kind of like trailblazers to like really, really punch hard into the system. And I mean, I think it's that kind of, the system was still resistant to that, but they're so good. And like, if you're kind of like, whatever, Far East Movement, that like a G6 song, whatever, no, you need to download their album Identity. It came out in 2016. It is like, for me, like the best confluence of East meets West, of hip hop, rap, pop, EDM.
Yeah, because they do all this
melding,
different kind of song. Like a G6 is nothing like Rocketeer. I feel like like Rocketeer is like a ballad, right?
Yeah, I mean, Rocketeer was originally supposed to be the Bruno Mars. Like,
shoot.
And then they were like, Bruno Mars isn't big enough, so they got Ryan fucking Tedder from One Republic.
Hold on, wait, what year is it?
Wait,
Bruno Mars was not big enough?
You haven't heard Bruno Mars's version? Bruno Mars's version is so much better.
Wait, so he did a version?
Yeah,
but it was like after the fact?
No, it's so what happens in the music industry is like a bunch of people will record on a track. So like that song, The Middle. You know, like I think there was something like 11 women, right. You know, were up for it. You know, so it was like Demi, Selena. You know,
I
like
saw that
every
Zed
single
video.
thing. Yeah. And so that was the thing. It was like Bruno originally. I think I believe originally wrote it, or maybe even wrote it. Maybe.
Oh wow.
I don't know. We should.
Okay.
This is gossip. Yeah, you got to check the facts. Check our facts. Come back to us.
But he did make a version, but it wasn't. The version.
No, the version was with One Republic, and I was just like, the Bruno one is so much better. Yeah, it's crazy. But Far East Movement is just like, they're doing it. Like, they're putting their money where their mouth is, and they're also putting their talent where the money is. Right. You know.
And yeah, they have, you know, a lot to. I mean, the deal is rumored to be in the 7 figures. So they're getting that money.
Woo, yeah.
But they all are also kind of like promoting Chinese artists, which is great. I think like Asian artists worldwide need some love. Yeah, well, I've been doing a lot of research for this script that I've been working on. That's at a production company right now, and there was a Billboard article. I guess I should have sent this to you. We could have even talked about this today. Sure. Because Dua Lipa and Blackpink just released a song together, and it's now in the top 10 streaming on Spotify right now. And it's like they had 7 million streams in 1 week. Wait, who's Dua Lipa? Are you fucking kidding me? Dua Lipa has the world record for the most streams of any album on Spotify, by a female, in 1 week. Which is, so she's like a British pop star. Okay. Dua Lipa, like New Rules, you know, pick up the phone. Sorry. No, calling. Oh my god. Nathan's gonna kill me. He's gonna stab me in the eye. Honestly, like, straight people are like crazy to me. Like, what do you listen to, straights? Hey, I am turning 35 in a month. So Jesus. Okay, you need to look up Dua Lipa. Okay, so Dua Lipa is like the #1 female artist probably in the world right now. Like, no joke. I'm gonna look her up right now. Like literally bigger than Ariana Grande Sweetener right now. Like,
I cannot believe you don't know who Dua Lipa is. Like literally, this is crazy to me. And so she just did a song with Blackpink, and it's like in the top 10 right now on Spotify. And
Okay.
But what Billboard's article was about is that we're moving into this kind of post-language popular music. And because we're seeing this with Years and Years. They just did a song with Key from.
So her song isn't in English. It's
so it's half English and half Korean.
Oh shit.
So it's literally just Blackpink. I mean, Blackpink, they all know English, so they sing the chorus in English because they all speak English.
Sure,
but like their verses are all in Korean. And so we're seeing that kind of with Years and Years, who's another huge. You need to. What the fuck is wrong with? Oh my God! Put up another tab and pull up Years and Years too. Like you need to get educated. This is exhausting to me. And so they just did a song with Key from Shiny, which is also amazing. And
right.
but Key's his verses were in Korean as well. And so it's this kind of. It was a super interesting Billboard article of just like, oh, we're moving into this post-language pop music renaissance, because we just had Super Junior release a song called Lo Siento, and so it's Korean and Spanish.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's wild.
And it it's doing super well in Latin America.
Right, because I feel like in maybe like 10 years ago, the only music that was like worldwide was either English or Spanish, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, I guess like Korean now is moving into that category.
And it's a true Gupti Got move right there, because like America is so convinced, and Europe is so convinced, it's like, oh, like English is the only way to sell a song, but then literally K-pop going, oh no, we're just gonna we're gonna literally circumvent you and do a song Korean and Spanish,
right?
Like it's truly wild. And the song is like 40 million.
Are there any other kind of like languages that are coming up besides those?
I mean, the thing is, like, K-pop's been doing this with everything,
right.
So like EXO, they have XOM, which is like EXO Mandarin, like where it's like, so like all their songs, like they'll release them in Mandarin, they'll release them so like K-pop, a lot of places they'll release their songs in Mandarin, Japanese, and Korean.
Yeah.
And now, if you look at SM, this is real getting into it, but like, SM is one of the big three in Korea music labels. They're also releasing NCT. They're basically going to like create different Asian brands of their same boy band.
What?
And so they're releasing like a NCT Vietnam, and so it's like. NCT is like their next big, like after Shiny, after Super Junior.
I don't know how I feel about this.
I know, so they're kind of franchising their music stars, and so
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes. I don't know if it's going to be successful, and I don't know if but like like Vietnam loves K-pop, and so they're like, okay, great, well, we'll give you K-pop, but we'll sing it in Vietnamese for you.
Yeah.
And
so going back to Far East Movement, and
Yes.
this bamboo and the Bamboo song. So I think Bamboo is the first song of this Chinese deal actually, because it is featuring Jason Zhang, who is a C-pop star.
Yeah.
So it was interesting because Bamboo not only is part of the name of the title, it's what they use in the instrumentals. You have this kind of like Chinese sort of influenced music now, which was kind of interesting to me. Like, we're going back to like what Asian music kind of sounds like,
which I love, because it's like, it's kind of like sometimes we shun where we're from for so long,
Right.
And it's not even that we're from there, like, 'cause I'm from Ohio, but I mean, like, if someone perceives me as something, then it's just
Right.
like, yeah, let me like love that part of what you see in me.
and I'm
like,
sure like our DNA has some
some confluence back there.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So, but I mean, yeah, no, I'm super excited about these up and coming collaborations, because I think it is this next step of kind of globalization of music within the community. And I think it'll only really help kind of accelerate kind of everything in the entertainment industry.
Right.
It's like, whether it's scripting, whether it's like actors, like, it's like, the more skills and the more stories that we can tell, in as many different mediums, like, that's kind of how you create this kind of globalization of content,
Right.
which is super fun.
Cool. So our next topic is about Hasan Minhaj. he came out with a new show on Netflix. I think it's gonna be like a weekly show, kind of like in the style of like The Daily Show, where he talks about certain kind of like more, I guess, political issues. So it just came out last week, and it's called the Patriot Act. And the episode that just came out was about affirmative action. Yeah, and I have many feelings about that. But
well, before we get to your feelings on that,
Sure.
I do want to say I didn't watch this clip about affirmative action because didn't do my homework for this podcast.
Sure.
But I did watch the clip of Tan from Queer Eye, and Hasan Minhaj, and
you've seen his Homecoming thing too, right?
I saw his stand up. I actually really loved it.
Yeah.
I some people are like, oh, stand up should be always funny, and like when people trash like Hannah Gatsby or Hassan's like stand up, I'm just like, no,
I teared up.
I love this exactly. Like I love that I can like laugh and cry and like reflect. Like so if if you love that kind of thing, then like watch Hannah Gatsby or watch Hassan, watch the special. But I mean, like, I just loved it because, like, I'm always, every time I watch Queer Eye, sometimes, some of the fashion choices are, like, a little too bold for these people, And, like, I really loved that, like, Hassan he's already, like, a pretty trendy guy.
Chic, yeah.
And so, like, I love that he was just like, no. I love that because it's just, like.
It's too much.
Yeah, no, it's no, that is ugly. And I was just like, yeah, that pinstripe outfit looks terrible. But it's, like, it's this kind of thing of, like, I kind of loved the fluidity of it. It was like almost I was like, I feel like Hassan could probably dress Tan better than Tan like sometimes dresses. Not that because it's a self-expression.
Right,
thing. I think that's what I liked. What it came down to was that like Hassan like already knows his style and like what he loves,
his brand and
and so Tan was just kind of trying to like helping him highlight that versus just giving him an identity, which I thought was like interesting. I feel like that would be a fun like episode if they did already take like kind of trendy cool people on Queer Eye and it was just like, yeah, but like what do you really love and like how do you like continue to specify like what you love about your life, because sometimes Queer Eye is just like, my family hates me, I was disowned, and I'm a mess, like, and you're just like, oh, it's too much. But yeah, I don't know. So yes, affirmative action though.
so I saw the show. So it was actually I thought it was gonna be like a longer, like hour long, but it was kind of just like 20 minutes and it's about a specific thing. So I guess because I have been kind of following Asian politics a lot, like in the past year, a lot of the stuff he was saying was kind of like the 101, like the catching people up to the basics. Which we need.
Like, what is the one? Right. What is the 101?
Because like a lot of people, a lot of people don't really watch that or delve into it, especially Asian Americans. They're just kind of like, oh, I don't have time for this. I don't want to read about this or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, the 101 is basically this conservative law group headed by Edward Blum, who was also part of the I think he was part of the UT Austin lawsuit that failed with Basic Becky with the braids.
I remember this. Okay, keep going.
But yeah, now I guess he is going after Harvard for their admissions policies, and basically saying that affirmative action is kind of like an outdated practice and that it is disadvantaging Asian American students. And I guess like it's easy to kind of be like, oh, it's a conservative law group. They just want to like kill diversity and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, I do agree that conservative law groups probably don't have Asian Americans' best interests in mind. They're probably using us as a wedge to kind of like further their own interests, which is, make things more white. But it doesn't kind of like, I feel like there's a middle ground too, where there are kind of shady things going on at Harvard that haven't been exposed up till now. It took like this lawsuit to kind of like expose things. Actually, I won't say that. I feel like Asian people or Asian Americans always kind of knew that this was going on, but they had no way to kind of like prove it.
Okay, here's the thing. Let me put this in layman's terms. If you want a 101, here's the fucking 101. That was some rambly ass shit. I barely followed it, and I like kind of read an article about this. So I mean, like, there is something like that, like the Asian Ivy League cap. That's what like everybody has talked about, where like at every school, you look at it, it's just like, yeah, sure, Asians make up about 6% of the population, but like when you look at admissions, a lot of times we're capped between like 13, 18% in Ivy Leagues. And so, I mean, the thing is though, like there's so many different aspects of this. So you're looking at, when you're looking at admissions, they have your academic side, and they also have something vague called the personal, like your personal profile. And so, I mean, what they're essentially saying is that like we should abolish this personal profile. And like for me, I went to public school. Like you went to fucking Ivy League of the South. I was in I was like literally in a trash heap. At Ohio University is the number 2 party school in America, and like literally like if shit wasn't on fire at night, like then like it was
a slow day.
It was a slow day. Like we literally were like, let's drink for 30 days straight. Like it's like okay, like we were like that's. I mean, like that's. But like I guess to kind of go back, it's like I'm a huge proponent for affirmative action.
Sure.
Period. And I think like what you're trying to say, but it sounds like what for me I was like, I'm not trying. What I'm hearing you're saying is that like the other factors at work are things that need to also be worked on. So for example, like if you want to talk about like there's something in Ivy League schools called the legacy admissions.
Right.
So what is that?
So legacy admissions is just kind of like basically, if you are the son or daughter of a person who went to that particular college, you kind of get, extra special attention. And you see that apparently 18% of Harvard's incoming class were legacy students.
What?
18%. It's huge.
18% of Harvard's class was legacy?
Yeah. And yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, what were you going to say?
Well, I mean, it's that kind of thing where it's like George W. Bush was legacy.
Right.
It's like, and he's like, that brain is.
You know what I heard? You know what I heard? Like he gave a commencement speech at Yale, and was like, "I'm proof, guys, that you could be a C student and still become a president."
No,
I don't think he said that ironically.
Oh no. God. Wait, so what were you gonna say before?
So I mean, like for legacy, it just means white. Right? Because like how many legacy students, I mean, like, yeah, there are some legacy students that are probably black or Asian or whatever by now, I guess, but it's going to be like 90%.
But it's, yeah, it's, you're talking about like that program help. Who does that program help? And what does that program actually, like, what is it? What is the,
I mean, I guess like it just kind of continues kind of generational power in these institutions. And if these institutions are saying, oh, we want to be fair, and we want to be like, we want to have the most diverse class possible, it's like, if you're saying that narrative and you're still allowing these legacy things to continue, is that really the case here? Or are you just trying to like build this narrative to kind of like protect the spots of your white applicants?
Yeah. See, because I mean, I did not know it was 18%.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's huge.
And for me, like, I guess that's like the only thing that it's like, abolish that.
Yeah,
and
it's hard because like so Harvard's endowment is like something like $40 billion, and that money comes from somewhere, right? It comes from donors. It comes from people who are legacy and alumni. And if you get rid of a legacy,
then you get rid of that money.
You get rid of that money. So it's just kind of like this thing where these institutions are private, right? So they're not these governmental like institutions, but it is kind of like what control should the government have over these kinds of admissions processes, and what should they even have a say in these kinds of things? Like it's very kind of like murky because like it is a business, but then at the same time it's just kind of like
it's a privately owned business,
right? So if it is a privately owned business, I guess the question becomes, who is it trying to benefit the most?
Yeah. So I mean, that's my struggle with this situation, is that it's just like, can you I don't know. I don't want to say this in like a dicey way, but like I think it's just like, is it a thing to complain about something that like is privately owned in a way that it's like I don't know what the end goal, like what is the end goal of these people that of Asians being like, yes, get rid of affirmative action. When I walk up to them, I'm just like, but what is your end goal? Like, what is your end game here?
I guess I mean, it is unfortunate. I mean, like people say like, oh, so you didn't get to Harvard, your life isn't over or whatever. But the reality of the situation is that, you know, these schools funnel into the levers of power in all sorts of, you know, society.
Sure.
And it is kind of like when we hear that, it is kind of like, Asians, you guys have it pretty good, so don't complain. And it's just kind of like insulting to hear that to me. You know what I mean?
I mean, sure, it's insulting, but there's a lot of things that are insulting. Like, I've told you to throw away that shirt like multiple times, and you're still fucking wearing it, and it's old and ratty as fuck.
But hold on. But you said that like when you're hearing people dismantling affirmative action, I don't think like Asian people, like all Asian. I mean, there is a portion of Asian Americans who do want affirmative action just to be totally abolished, which I don't agree with.
Yeah.
And those people do exist. I understand that those people need to get their heads examined a little bit. But there is like, you know, people, Asian Americans like me, who want to keep affirmative action, but want to dismantle certain things or change the way it is. Because like, as it is, the admissions process is this very opaque system where nobody really knows what's going on except Harvard itself. It's kind of like Harvard's like, trust us, we're making it diverse. You don't know how we're making it diverse, but we are. So just don't mess with the system.
Right.
If the shit ain't broke, why fix it type thing.
Yeah.
And so that kind of like grinds my gears a little bit.
Yeah. But I think it's like, how do you fight against something that both holds the keys to the car and the car? It's like when you are just the passenger, can you like be like, well, like, I think it's too cold in the car.
Yeah.
You know, like I think it is a very real feeling of being frustrated with what's happening at these Ivy League schools, but it also like it affects such in reality it affects us like just a small percentage of an already small percentage of Americans.
Well, I disagree with that because like what's happening at Harvard is happening at all, you know, probably the top 50, 100 schools in America.
Sure.
And with this personality thing, like it just feeds more into stereotypes, into like that we are these robots, that we are these emotionless things that, you know, are just trying to, you know, get ours and education and get our money or whatever without like any sort of things. And it's just kind of like, well, you guys are actively perpetuating the stereotype that we are not
right.
Like,
but here's the thing.
Humans.
Let's say they dismantle this and let's say that great, like we'll be transparent and like, or let's see that this doesn't change, but Asians are like, great, like you're saying that we need personal stories. Great. We'll talk about how, you know, the Philippine American War affected my family. I'm going to talk about, you know, being an immigrant. I'm going to talk about this, talk about that. Like, don't you think like these pillars of whiteness will always just be moving the bar forward from that? So it's like it for me ultimately it becomes like either dismantle the system in a way that will truly disrupt the system, or we have to build adjacent, because it's just like I'm not going to like it's just like I don't know. Yeah,
no, I mean like thank God I'm not like a political science major or anything like that, because I wouldn't have the first clue to kind of like how to change the system from within. It is this very complicated things where, you know, people are not going to hand over the keys to the car.
Right.
Other than like kind of like a violent revolution, I don't know like how this is going to appreciably change in our lifetimes.
Right.
But I guess like I do take issue sometimes when I do see things like, you know, Hasan Minhaj's take on it, which was like, okay. I mean, like he did say that Harvard was somewhat culpable in all of this, and he did, but it just felt like he was talking down on Asian Americans, and certain groups of Asian Americans that do deserve to be talked down. But in terms of like the framing of the entire thing, it was kind of like.
Here's my thing. Like, I feel like you're getting to a point where it's like, why are we equivocal? Like, he's allowed to have his opinion.
Sure.
And like, it's our job to then like either agree or disagree or agree with part of it, and then like, but support him continuously. It's like,
Right.
He's
No, I'm not
he's
going to
doing
not
anything.
support him,
Yeah.
but
And I think that it's just like, for me, it's just like solution based. So if we don't have a solution here,
right,
then it's like
a waste of fart in the wind.
Then it's just like, what are we getting at by like being like, I'm mad about 30% of the things he said. Like, why are we equivocating that? Because it's like he's shining the flashlight on the wall of cockroaches, and it's our job to either kill the cockroaches, go in and fumigate it, or just like let those cockroaches continue to be there. Like, I don't know. I don't know if people are gonna email us and be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Cockroaches.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so then hold on. Let me pause this question.
Okay.
What do you think his purpose was in shining this light in the pop? What did he want to accomplish with all that?
I mean, I didn't watch it, but if he called out legacy, then I think like it's just like that to me is like a linchpin moment. If we're like, okay, fine, get rid of legacy, then he did
mention it, yeah.
Yeah, then seeing what an Ivy League school would do is like that's the shut up. That's the like shit or get off the pot moment there. Because it's like, oh, if people decide, if these institutions of power decide to dismantle their ways of consolidating power, then like that to me is like a huge step in our lifetimes that would be taken. But that's probably not going to take for another 30 years.
Yeah.
You know? So in 30 years, if like
that's
dismantled, then like you can pat yourself on the back because this podcast was part of that revolution. So congratulations. But yeah, wow, that was we got pretty deep in that. I feel like we could even talk more about that, but let's just not.
Yeah.
I think that people we're probably
like,
already
affirmative
over
action.
it.
What is this? What is this? A political podcast?
But so we wanted to do kind of like a tip of the week kind of thing, and I don't think either of us are like really experts at anything, but I think it's just like, what are these kinds of tiny things that we've kind of garnered from like being in this
our
business.
experiences. Yeah.
And so my first thing was like, I was like, oh, like Doug, how was your general? And he was just like, what is that? And I was just like, you've been here like taking general meetings for years.
Well, it's because I came from like an acting background, right? I didn't come from like a writing background, so I didn't know like what generals were, whatever was. Like,
everybody
this is
goes
like
to generals.
No, but like, when you're an actor, you're just like, oh, I'm going to an audition or whatever. Yeah. Like generals, I think are more reserved for like creators and like and literary stuff. No,
but did you not create a show?
No. So I mean, that happened in the past couple of years, but the first 8 years of my career, I was just focused on like, going out for auditions and stuff.
Okay, well, in a 3 bullet point moment here, so what happens is when you become a writer or a creative or a producer or whatever, you then go on what they call the water bottle tour. And so it's kind of like you go and you basically meet everyone in your network that you can meet. Then you just go and you go in and you have a bottle of water or a coffee and you sit down and you just kind of see if you can connect to them on a human level. Because I think you had a good allusion to the consulting world. Right.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's in the consulting world. So there's multiple parts of your interview. There's like a case study where you do like kind of like mathy type stuff to show that how you critically think. But then there's also the airport test where they're kind of like just shooting the shit with you and like asking you just like questions about like, what are you interested in, blah, blah, blah. And that is called the airport test. And that's important in consulting because usually when you're consulting, you're on projects and you're traveling and you're going on, long trips with these people. And they want to know if you are someone who's like an actual human being that they can relate with while they're, maybe delayed at an airport for like 5-6 hours or something, or going to these trips. Like, you're going to be together a long time. So they want to know if you're like a cool person. Yeah. So I mean, like, basically, like, your job in general is to like show like, because if you're going and meeting with someone, like, chances are you've sent them a script, you've sent them, like they've seen something of yours online, and so like you have something to talk about. So like they already know your work, they already know whether or not like you're talented or not. So it's like when you're going in though, it's all about the vibe, and I think that's it. Kind of catches up a lot of creatives, a lot of writers, because a lot of writers, we happen to be kind of like introverted or like like I'm articulate in my real life, and so that's why I like to write on the page. But it's just like
knowing that like you can talk about yourself, like sell yourself in 30 seconds is like one of the most important skills.
That's something I've been kind of like
Yeah.
honing over the year of taking all these generals and being like, oh, this is what works. This is what kind of like, so I kind of like have built that subconsciously of like, oh, I'm going to leave that out, but I'm still kind of learning. I'm not the best person at like pitching myself. Cause sometimes I catch myself talking too much. And like
it's because it's super important because it's just like, how do you listen? How do you like, are you making eye contact? Like, are you, you know, like sweaty or nervous? Like I went into this general like this week and like, oh God, I didn't even know. But, and I usually, I love generals. I love going in and meeting people because I like talking to people, but they started talking about sports and like, it just really threw me because usually like I'm really good at talking with, I like love talking with women because like straight men
I should have given you a primer.
And should be dead. And they're like, and like they like asked me about sports, and I was just like,
did they ask about the Lakers and LeBron or whatever?
No, because I could have even talked about that. They were asking about football, and I
I
was just like,
I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't.
I
really
was
follow
literally
football
like,
that much.
oh, like I had like no.
Well, you know about the Colin Kaepernick thing, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, like they were legitimately asking like this specific person from the Browns.
Oh,
like,
Cleveland.
And like, and I was just like, because they were trying to connect to me, and so it's like, how do you?
All you have to know is that the Browns are terrible.
Exactly. That's what I mean, but how dare you? Like, I'm from Cleveland. Don't do that. No, but I mean, it's that thing of like, even if you're not able to connect on that, how do you still like connect with that person? Because I was just like, ooh, I was looking like, luckily the other exec was like, come on, sports. And I was just like,
you gotta throw a judo move in there.
Exactly.
Like
you gotta
humor to deflect or something.
Yeah. Like just, and like, how do you continue to like, how do you really examine your own personality and be like, how do people perceive me in the room? Because I think perception is so important. And
it's so crazy too though, because like I was talking to my other writer friend and he was saying like there's different levels of like how, like a general meeting, whatever. Like he said that if you're meeting with an agency, for example, it's different if you meet in their office or if they meet you at a coffee shop nearby or something like that like it's like different levels of their interests or whatever. And I was like, oh man, there's like a whole system and culture.
I mean, like,
to this thing.
yeah, that all sounds that. I mean, that's if y'all get in there, then it's just like you just deal with it. But I mean, like,
I think it is just a good idea to filter out that noise and just kind of like think about like, I think when you're going into the biggest thing you should do is figure out what they are interested in, figure out what they want. And try to kind of like cater your message and like what you think you can deliver to them in that sort of way.
And like do your research. If you like are like, oh, I'm meeting with this person at this company, then like look them up on LinkedIn and look where else they've worked. Exactly. IMDb Pro. And like never go in blind, you know, like, and like when in doubt, like talk less, you know, it's like
that's something I need to learn because I feel like because I get so nervous, I'm just like rambling on sometimes and
or like ask questions, be like, what was your journey to get to where you are, you know, because like people love talking about themselves. You know,
I found that's very effective. Being like, hey, so what was your story? How did you get into entertainment? Like what kind of stories or what kind of movies do you like? Or you know, even that. I feel like it's a good way to kind of just break the ice, just be like, because we are all in this industry because we love stories, right? Like, and it's just like, what stories do you love, you know, like, and that's like a good jumping off point, and finding a commonality in that quickly is like, okay, now we can jump off and talk about how we can create similar types of stories or whatever.
Yes. Great. So now we know what a general is. Congratulations, America. Okay, so I think we're just like on to our Padagdong moment of the week here. And yeah, I just needed to kind of go on a little fucking diatribe about life. No, because I think it's important because like I really want to feel strongly about talking about like why I'm doing this podcast with Doug specifically.
Right.
And because I like, to be honest, like I really kind of struggle working with Asian men because
straight Asian men.
Straight Asian men.
Yeah.
Gay Asian men call me like I don't believe in heteronormativity.
Yeah.
So like get at me. But I mean, like it is hard because like for me personally, like when I talk to straight Asian men, like a lot of them like they come from a lot of conservative backgrounds or very religious backgrounds, and so like being
That's me.
yeah, so being like, you know, not only an Asian person that they might perceive as like a threat, like whatever, physically, mentally, whatever, but like it's also like because I'm gay, like it's like I do always feel like there is this kind of like
don't get the gay on me.
Yeah, exactly. And like Doug and I have only hooked up a couple of times.
Yeah, just a couple times.
No, it's just like I'm not here to like you know, Grim Reaper like seduce straight men. Like that's not my like. I have a smartphone. I can do that. Whatever, you know.
Right.
Whatever.
Grindr exists, or what was that? You said that.
Jacked for the Asians. Yeah, we can do a whole episode on that. We can figure that. But I mean, I've kind of gotten some messages where it's just like, oh, why would you work with this person? It's just like, oh, they're A, B, and C. And my thing is like, I met Doug, and to be very frank, like I was like, ooh, like this one, I do feel like is a mess. But like,
wait, would you say I was more of a mess than other straight Asian men? Or like kind of baseline mess?
God, I feel like you were more of a mess, but you were also smarter than a lot of other Asian men.
Oh, thank you.
And so like, or maybe not even smarter, but like
self-aware.
No.
No.
No, but like you were really pushing against the wall in a way that like I connected to. And but like you were a disaster. Like your clothes were so raggedy, your hair looked crazy.
I will admit,
like,
I let myself go in the past few years.
I mean, like, and like, I was like, but like, it's like if we all polish ourselves to be the best people that we can be, like, we are like, there's always something there. And like, what I've been getting really frustrated with the Asian community is there's such easy way of like dismissing people or canceling people. It's kind of like, it's a very Asian thing to like kind of like cut ourselves off at the knees or like salt the field so nothing else can grow, because it's like and for me it's like kind of with the Asian community we kind of want two things. It's just like we want to cancel people, but we also want them to like learn their lessons and grow from it, but like still then set them on fire. It's like and so for me I'm just like my goal the last 2 years was like I'm here to help anybody, you know, like straight, gay, man, woman, non-binary, whatever. Like, I am just here to be like, do you need help? You need help punching out that script? Here, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
And I'm not expecting anything in return.
And that was what drew me to it, actually. I know I talked this in the first episode, but when you posted that, you posted on Facebook, you said something like, all the Asian writers get at me. I want to help people. I want to help them. And that was like, to me, that was the first time I saw anyone write anything like that, where they were just like willing to like just freely give their services. Because
like, how are we as a community like going to change if we're not willing to like create the infrastructure to help us change and to help us grow? Because frankly, people that have come at me, I'm just like, I've done the exact same thing to you that I did to Doug. Like, like A, B, and C, and D, and E, and F, and G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, W, X, Y, and Z people. Like, it's just like, I've put time into every single person to help, because like, I don't have like family besides my sister, you know, like really, like I don't have like, so like the only thing that I have is the community that I build, like that I intentionally build in my life. Yeah. Like, it's just like, you know, like, and so if we kind of like, I'm getting fucking crazy. It kind of is that Asian experience though, just like we don't have these like, you know, like wonderful, warm, a lot of us like these like wonderful like home family lives. So it's like we are used to doing everything on our own and used to just being like, fine, I'm gonna do it.
It is this Asian competitiveness, I think, where a lot of times, like not even in the entertainment industry, but I feel like in any industry where it is like I feel like a lot of us treat it as a like zero-sum game where like, oh, I'm gonna get into Harvard. If I get into Harvard, like this person's not gonna, like I gotta get mine or whatever. I gotta step over the other Asians to get my shit. and like I think like I felt that even, you know, like amongst a lot of people early on when I moved to LA like 5-6 years ago. I think it is changing though. I think like more community is being set up, but I think there is this kind of like just very competitiveness that just like prevents people from like being like, because they're like, hey, there's only a certain amount of spots available for Asian actors. I got to get that spot. I can't let this guy get that spot. Right. So it's just like, I don't know, this toxic kind of, you know.
I mean, like there were so many people that were like, don't waste your time. Like, don't work with that person. About many Asian men. Yeah. Not just you, but like, and especially it's even like, it's also about like, you know, like, if an Asian woman was just like, oh, don't stop. Like, why do you keep helping this person? Like, they're not nice. They constantly treat you like garbage. Like, they make you cry. You know, like, why do you keep helping them? And I'm just like, because like they're treating me like garbage because that's how they feel about themselves. Like, it's like they don't have a high esteem for themselves, and so like they're the only way that they can operate is lashing out at me. And it's just like, it's just like, it's easy to wait out that storm because like it's not actually adding any weight to my shoulders. Like, yes, I get emotionally upset. Like, yes, I still get frustrated when it's like for me, the straight Asian male MO is like, they either flat out don't hear me, or they will hear me but then or like disagree and then get angry with me, or they just will like pretend they didn't hear me, or they hear me and then like 2 days later they'll be like, they'll present it as their idea.
I think I'm category 4.
I mean, and it's this kind of thing where it's just like, that's fine, and we just need to like continue, because like, you know, like I like have been held up so much by like you know, like held up meaning helped so much by like Asian women in my life. And
so what is your experience been like with Asian women?
I mean, I think that there's just this camaraderie of just like there's a double modulation there. There's a like Asian women like being women and being Asian American, like when they see like, oh, you're gay and you're Asian, you know, like I don't have the same chips on my shoulders that Asian men do, but I still have different chips on my shoulder. And so it's this kind of like, when you find that kind of kindred, like, yes, let's, like, we get it, you know, like, and it's just like, for me, it's just like my community is just like, we just have to keep working hard and keep on putting out the work and making sure that it's excellent and holding each other accountable to that high standard. Yeah. And like, for me, unfortunately, like, I've really tried to get straight Asian men into like that community, and like, I'm going to keep doing it. Right. But it's just like, we have to first unpack and deal with like the damage that we all have before we can get on that, whether you're whoever you are.
And like, you know, I know you're frustrated with all this, but like I feel like gay Asian men are kind of like this bridge for Asian men and Asian women to kind of like I know that's a lot of emotional baggage on your shoulders, but I feel like there is this divide that can be bridged, and I think like gay Asian men are kind of like the not the solution, but like a big part of like bridging that.
I mean,
in my opinion, I don't know. I mean,
we'll see. I mean, like, I didn't even know, like, it's like the gay Asian community is so small.
Right.
In general.
Right.
You know, and so it's this kind of like, I can count, you know, the number of gay Asian writers. I think, are there less than 10 of us? Like, I don't know. Like, you know, like, and so it's like, I think that we have this kind of like, we have nothing left to lose, and we don't have a safety net, probably, you know, like most likely from where we're from. And so it's this kind of thing where it's just like, I see so much squabbling on both sides of like the straight spectrum between Asian men and women, and I'm always just like, we would be so much stronger if we just like work together and like literally we're literally equivocating against, you know, we're rubbing 2 grains of rice together, you know, and where like other people are enjoying feasts, and like it's just like, let's fucking feast together. That's all. That's my point. I need to stop saying fuck too during this podcast because
I'll try to edit them
out. But I think that's it. I don't know. Is there anything else? I really like this episode. I think it was super fun.
Okay.
Listen to Years and Years with Key. Listen to Far East Movement.
And
we'll put links below
Dua
for them. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm gonna kill you. This is like, we need to do a whole gay episode because this is honestly stressing me out. Like, we're gonna be doing an episode where because I feel like I've been working on like Doug's. Oh, this is what I want to button.
Oh.
Is like that when we ask people to change and we tear people down, like. I think it's only fair that we are there when these people are really trying to build themselves back up and change. And that's what I've actually really seen in Doug. And that's what I really want to kind of impress upon everybody is that like we are here to build a better tomorrow. And so let's like when someone's like holding on a brick and being like, hey, I made this brick. Can I put it in the wall? Like, yes, you can. Yes. Like let that be. And so on that note, love each other. I mean, like, if you're straight and you're not bisexual, like, you're ruining America, I guess. I don't know. No, I'm just like lonely and celibate and like only date abusive people. So I don't know, like, what's happening in my life? That's it. We gotta go. I'm talking too much.
All right. Yeah. I'll see you later.
Bye.
I don't know how to end this.
Okay. Bye. Follow us. Bye.
Bye. Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening. If you like what you heard, you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all under the same handle, PodDukDong. That's PODDUKDONG.
And if you want to get in touch with us, if you have any cool stories, you have suggestions of what we should talk about, hit us up via email at poddukdong@gmail.com. All right. Talk soon.
Thanks. Bye.